Ladies, gentlemen, bonjour.
Clair obscur, trouble de rature, courbera et fer. Clair obscur, noir et haut, peinture, trouvera sans air. Clair obscur, trouble de rature, courbera et fer. Clair obscur, noir et haut, peinture, trouvera sans air.
Yes, I understand showing any interest in anything as far as 6 degrees removed from the concept of France is punishable by immediate loss of all aura, but may I present to you feet. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has the heart and soul of a true JRPG and somehow does not suffer from any whip shit bullshit. Of course, to some of you, a group of bare-naked autistic gym bros canonically ascending beyond the laws of this universe and untangling the plot years before the main cast, only to fall short due to the narrative omnipotence of the writing staff, or the simple inclusion of gesturals, might be signs of whip shit bullshit. But to you, my friends, I say I have never seen any anime containing foot fetish fan service, and the age of consent in France is 16. The reason I like to play JRPGs, of course, is not because I enjoy witnessing the horrors beyond my comprehension referred to as whip shit bullshit. What I like is the experience of a well-crafted story, to witness moments of joy and sadness alongside people who somehow feel more real than myself, and to see through the resolve until the very end. No, I do not like Minecraft. Unbelievable, you might say. My autistic ass cannot have fallen to such depravities to prefer a 2025 French game with good graphics to some map game with gameplay and visuals indistinguishable from Microsoft Excel, which is older than myself. Valid criticism indeed, but I also enjoy the freedom and complexity of gameplay in JRPGs, which allows one to progress from struggling against a literal child to defeating a not quite literal creator deity, Lodif. Very autistic indeed. And believe me when I say the only reason this video in its entirety is not just me suckling on the proverbial penis of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is because I know how absolutely vile and disgusting it could be for someone who does not yet have a reason to love this game. Therefore, I am very sorry, because even though I am straight and will try my best to avoid the soft yet rear-tearing femboy penis in front of me with its subtle pink hue and hint of a strawberry scent, $20 is still $20. Clip is one masterpiece of a game, not only because of its side paths and optional content, which puts anything less than Bloodborne to shame, or that it has a visual design with the impact you would expect something from the depths of the same insert non-offensive euphemism for France as surrealism to have, or its unique combat which can be arguably described as turn-based Sekiro, or that it's the only game I've ever seen which changes its button icons based on your keyboard language, yet it does not natively support a DualShock 4, even though it strongly suggests you play it with a controller. Or its music, which, if you for some reason do not fuck with, I will personally come to your house, tie you to your bed, with a vibrating butt plug up there, and play Lumiere at full volume on loop for 72 hours straight, or until at least 7 cum jars are filled. Although all the things I just said are undoubtedly true and contributing factors, the reason I believe this game deserves your time is because it managed to give me a severe PTSD reaction to the sound of an old man walking with his cane. The story of in my opinion, is its strongest aspect. It is a story conceived in the bowels of the primordial mother femboy, ever festering with life. Nourished to adulthood by the very tits of the eternal goth mommy, the queen of the dead. And made into a man by mountain dwarves with autism, so you know it's good. Almost every concept in the game ties back to its themes. We do not talk about the gestural beaches in this house, and it does that in a satisfying way. As the story has somehow ascended past the influence of the slop market and trusts its audience to be more than drooling, brain-dead, overgrown infants whom if at any point are fed but the finest of expositions explaining exactly everything, up to and including the tint of the main villain's piss, or if exposed to anything other than the most classical of structures. I do understand it literally has a 3-act structure. That is not what I'm talking about. Handed down to us through the unbroken chain of Greek gay orgies and honed into perfection by the efforts of Disney and Marvel Studios, the sight of which can make any of Jakub's creations cry in their pants. Or in the case of a story lacking at least one scene of someone dropping the absolute most quotable truth bomb, we'll tear their skulls open, write the angriest of reviews, and demand the severed head of the imbecile who dared to fail the expectations of the audience. For this reason, the story of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 feels more than just an attempt to either worship or make fun of narrative cliches. And the characters here are not only interesting, but exist beyond the convenience of plot and feel like real people whom if you ever met, you could shake their hands and call them friend. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has characters which can possibly include Gustav, lactose-intolerant father; Lune, is a witch who believes in science; Maël, Lemmy, quite literally; Ciel, might call you a good boy; Verso, le good boy; Monoko, has a feet collection. For the sake of avoiding spoilers, I will not talk about this man. Esquier, the emergency emotional support pillow; François, the anti-Esquier; Gulgra, a muscular mommy with an entire village of simps worshipping her. There is much to love about the characters. From Gustav apologizing to a gestural because Gulgra did a prank on them both, to Monoko somehow forgetting he could do this. Or his relationship with Verso, which can be rightfully called peak male friendship. Gulgra goes Super Saiyan when she gets angry, and Maël, well, she's Shadowheart.
I can't betray Shah's secrets.
The combat of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is pretty much that of a very normal turn-based JRPG. Aside from your ability to counter every single attack, if you can't counter it, it's not an attack, it's a bullshit move. And Luminas, which comprise what I would like to call the fun part. There are two methods of increasing your attributes in this game. One is leveling up with a Souls-like system, the other is with equipping Pictos. Each Pictos will increase at most 2 of your attributes and has exactly one somewhat unique ability. These abilities can range from applying a buff when you fall below half health to removing the damage cap. After winning 4 battles with a Pictos equipped, you will learn their ability, after which they are called Lumina, and everyone can use them regardless of their equipped Pictos. Luminas are generally more useful, because unlike Pictos, the only limiting factor on how many of them one can use is the number of their Lumina points, which, by the end game, could potentially count in hundreds. My favorite combination is Cheater, which allows you to play for 2 turns each turn, and Life, which heals 100% of your health each turn you didn't take damage. Congratulations! You have successfully eliminated most of the need for healing. Each character also has their own gimmick. Gustav has an overcharge ability. Lune, aside from her bare feet, which adds an additional 50 points to your one-handed ability, has stains. Maël can switch stances, but her role in battle is to apply burn to enemies, which is a status that inflicts a certain amount of damage at the start of one's turn based on how many burn marks they have. and with the late game bosses playing for multiple turns each, upwards of 100,000 potential points of damage each turn, does not sound bad at all. CL has some complicated fortune teller shit, which I'm not going to explain. There is a tutorial for that. Verso likes to farm aura in the middle of the battlefield, and Monoko.
My, what lovely feet.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has an absurd amount of optional content. They are not optional. This is a threat. I understand the optional contents in many games are mostly there to justify the price tag through quadrupling the playtime by tasking you with the most menial of labors, the likes of which even slaves were spared from. But this game was designed for you to explore it, and brother, it is designed well. Consider this. Expedition is literally in the title. Are you really not going to explore the world? Clair Obscur Expedition 33 borrows heavily in its gameplay from JRPGs. It has an overworld which, although it still has trinkets to find and foes to fight, mostly serves as a way to convey distance between individual dungeons. When in the overworld, you can access a map, and at first I kept instinctively pressing a square to open it, and I didn't know why, until I remembered that is the subway button in Persona 5. Gestural beaches are rage-bait trolling facilities meant for testing your belief in gravity, where your struggles and perseverance is rewarded with the utmost valuable of prizes. Hiding in the dark corners of the world are these nightmarish creatures of French origin. They are another source of what I like to call the good shit. Scattered around the map are chromatic enemies. They are the true revolutionary invention of this game, which will revolutionize the gaming industry, because for once in history, the patented idea of a walking loot box is not just a resized version of a normal enemy with higher damage, but has different moves with longer combos. They are genuinely fun, mostly because there is only one of each in the game, outside of the Endless Tower, but we don't talk about that in this house. And although I have finished the game, I still have nightmares of a creature beyond this mortal realm, hiding beneath the tallest mountain, under the deepest cavern, biding its time, called Chromatic Mime. Also friendly advice, do not kill the white neurons. In Clair Obscur Expedition 33, you can break enemies. This is achieved by filling their break bar and then using an attack with this line in its description. When broken, the enemies cannot act for a number of turns, ranging from 1 to God knows how many. This might sound useful, but the break bar takes so long to fill that your only meaningful interactions with this mechanic are 1. Fighting a late game boss that I cannot talk about because of spoilers, who can break you like mommy is going to break my neck in between her thighs. And 2. When fighting mimes, whose ability to take damage is somewhat impeded until you break them at least once. There is also Guts from Berserk. He is the hardest boss of the game and the definition of get good, because not only he's tanky and hits like your mom, he also has an unavoidable bullshit move which leaves you at 1 HP, forcing you to play perfectly, and another that takes away all shields. He also literally removes the dead from the battlefield if they are not revived instantly. This might seem to most like bullshit, and it somewhat is, but in a game which gives you the ability to counter most sources of damage, I call this a challenge. I have not yet beaten him as of writing this. Unfortunately, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has a few issues with the stability. I do not know if they've been fixed, because as a proud PC gamer whose GPU is in eternal service of the Ethereum mines of the Russian government, I do not update my games frequently. Luckily, you can significantly lower the amount of Windows recovery screens you encounter by locking the frame rate to under 30. Yes, I know, dishonoring a YouTube gaming video with something as disgusting as below ultra graphical settings is a blasphemy cleansed only through 10 version gay incels farting in your face at unison and drinking the distilled piss of at least 3 underage anime girls. But as a citizen of a third world country who knows what it means to really not be able to afford eggs, I think I have bigger problems. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is overall something I love and would recommend to everyone. Also, do not worry. I personally assure you, the most political statement you lay your eyes upon in this game is the final boss believing jealous orphans who seek to destroy the work of other hard-working individuals are the real problem in society. My score for this game is 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Goodbye. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a story best experienced blind. The following is neither a summary nor an explanation. Go play the game first. I'll wait. And just in case all the praise wasn't enough, let me point out this game made me want to make something other than a pure shitpost. This game doesn't have a happy ending. Yes, one of them is objectively more palatable than the other. But look at this man. He's doing what he always dreamt of, what his soul always dreamt of, and he looks more broken than ever before. In my mind, Verso walking away with the last fragment of his soul will always be the true ending. Not just because the other ending feels more sinister than anything else, but more so because the game is practically begging you to move on. Verso's soul is tired of painting. The gesturals can be reborn endlessly, but they are never the same. Gustav is replaced by Verso. What was once lost can never be found again. But I also cannot overlook the fact that the music playing during Mael's ending is titled Clair Obscur. I do understand Mael. Even if there was no lives to save, she would still die in the canvas. I really do understand her. And considering the body of work I have provided on this platform, I don't think there is any need for me to prove that. But I also understand Verso. He woke up one day and found that he was turned into a giant cockroach who's immortal. Gustav is probably the only fictional character I've ever actually missed. However, I personally never really looked forward to bringing him back. Mostly because the world lost its original meaning after the "it was all a dream" twist. But also because I felt like death shouldn't lose its meaning. Not because I'm against the idea of eternity, but more so because if that happens, then the story itself would lose its meaning. After all, what is a game about grief without a few lives lost? I said earlier in the video, the characters here feel like real people. And one thing I like about this game is that unlike the overwhelming majority of our media, at least the ones I've experienced, it does not give you an answer. If the people inside the canvas were not real, then Mael's argument would not be so persuasive. But even more importantly, what Verso did was very much a sacrifice. Renoir's argument, although valid, does not redeem him from the fact he literally committed genocide. The choice you make at the end, much like in our own lives, is a very real choice. We do like to pretend the answer is clear, but more often than not, that is not true. Especially for the person who's supposed to decide. I also like the motto "Tomorrow Comes", because even though it's used by the expeditioners, it's better suited for a father who's trying to convince his daughter life isn't over. You could call it respect, but I'm also not here to prove any points, or drop the absolute most quotable truth bomb. I'm just telling you about my observations. I also find it kinda funny that all the stuff about paintings can be explained away by this game being part of the Dark Souls universe. And the fact that the ending of Dark Souls as a franchise is also about moving on is just the cherry on top. Anyway, my final score for this game is 3 gesturals out of 11 side paths. Goodbye!